Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a really influential book in the product world, Escaping the Build Trap by Melissa Perri.
That's right, a foundational text for many.
Think of this as your quick guide, the essential breakdown. We want to unpack how you shift from just, shipping features.
To actually creating real value
Hmm,
for customers and for the business itself.
exactly. We've gone through Perry's insights, pulled out the core ideas, the frameworks.
Yeah, our goal is really to give a clear, comprehensive look at how you build what she calls a product-led organization.
Which sounds like the goal for companies wanting, wow, real sustainable success.
It really is.
Now, the central problem Perry tackles is this build trap. It's that situation, and maybe we've all seen it or even been part of it, this relentless focus on just output.
Yeah, the sheer number of features shipped, that becomes the metric.
Right, that's seen as progress. But Perry argues, and I think we've all felt this, it doesn't always lead to meaningful results.
Not for the users or for the company's bottom line, it often doesn't connect.
So the book is essentially a roadmap then, a way to move beyond that.
Pretty much. It emphasizes creating value in, well, every part of the company. Roles, strategy, process, even the culture.
It's a big picture view.
Absolutely. And right at the start, foundational to escaping this trap is understanding what Perry calls the value exchange system.
Okay, the value exchange system, tell us about that.
It's really the basic relationship, right? Between your customers, they have problems, wants, needs, and your business, which offers products or services to solve them.
Simple enough on the surface.
But the critical point, the thing people miss, is that customers only feel they get value when their problem is actually solved.
Ah, okay. It's not just about having the product, it's about the problem disappearing for them.
Precisely. And only then, when they perceive that value, do they give value back.
Which could be money, obviously, but also other things.
Yeah, money, data, telling their friends, staying loyal,
Yeah.
all valuable to the business.
So let's dig into how this build trap happens. It stems from misunderstanding that value exchange.
Exactly. When companies aren't really tuned in to what customers need, they often default to measuring what's easy.
Features shipped. Easy to count.
Right. It becomes this proxy for success, but it's misleading. And it can have really detrimental consequences.
Like celebrating laying bricks without checking if the house is actually wanted or structurally sound?
That's a perfect analogy.
Hmm.
And Perry has this stark example. A data platform company.
Oh, yeah.
They'd built 30 features
Impressive, right?
and had another 40 in the pipeline.
Wow, busy team.
But get this,
Mm.
only about 2% of those existing features were being used consistently.
Ouch. That's not good.
Not at all. But despite that clear signal, the main focus was still just build more, build the next 40.
Without asking why the first 30 weren't landing.
Precisely. And there's another danger here, too, this sort of catch-up mentality.
The keeping up with the Joneses of product development?
You got it. Companies see competitor launch something, and they feel they have to build it, too, feature for feature.
But you risk losing sight of your own customers, your own strengths,
Right.
just reacting.
Totally. Think about Google Plus trying to take on Facebook head-on.
Right, I remember that.
They mostly just copied Facebook's features instead of finding a unique angle or solving an unmet need.
And it didn't really take off.
Nope. So Perry hammers this point home. To build a healthy value exchange system, you need a deep, genuine understanding of your customers and their needs. Sometimes that means getting employees out there, closer to the customer's world.
Which leads naturally into another key distinction Perry makes. The difference between projects, products, and services.
Ah, yes, crucial, because we often use those terms loosely.
So project-based development, that's common, right?
Very common. Work gets defined with a specific scope, deadlines, deliverables, outputs.
And you've got methodologies like Prince2, PMBOK.
Exactly. Those are valuable for managing those discrete projects. But Perry warns, don't confuse project management with product management. They serve different goals.
Okay, so what is a product in Perry's framework? It's got to be more than just code.
Definitely. She calls it a vehicle of value, something that delivers value to customers repeatedly, consistently.
Ideally without needing constant new work just to keep its core function going.
You got it.
Yeah.
Think about Microsoft Excel, or a simpler example, a jar of baby food,
Right. Consistent value.
or even platforms like Tinder or the iPhone. They evolve, sure, but the core value proposition is ongoing. Once built and refined, they solve a recurring need.
And lots of businesses mix products and services, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely. Like on-prem software that needs installation services or ongoing support, that's common.
So the key takeaway is projects are needed for products, but thinking only in projects is dangerous.
That's the core message. A purely project-based mindset often lacks that overarching strategy. It can easily suck you right back into that output-focused build trap.
So if projects aren't the whole answer, what is? Perry argues for becoming a product-led organization. Sounds like a big shift.
It is. And she's clear, it's not just minor tweaks. It requires looking at the whole company,
How so?
reevaluating roles, setting up a clear strategy, putting the right processes in place, even shaping the culture and how people are rewarded.
Wow, okay. That's comprehensive.
But interestingly, she points out it's not usually about the technical difficulty or needing tons of new hires.
Whoa, what is it about then?
It's fundamentally a mindset shift, moving toward prioritizing outcomes over just outputs, and really embracing experimentation to deal with all the uncertainty in product development.
And right at the heart of that product-led approach is the product manager.
Yes, but not just as a title tacked onto someone's existing job. Perry sees it as a dedicated career path.
Okay, so how does she define that role?
A product manager, in her view, needs deep understanding, both of the business side, the objectives, and the customer side, their needs, their problems.
A bridge between the two.
In many ways, yes. Their main job is to spot the best opportunities to create value.
And how do they do that? It sounds complex.
By synthesizing tons of information, user analytics, customer feedback, market research, stakeholder opinions, all of it. They use that to guide the team.
And they're constantly asking that why question.
Always, why are we doing this? What outcome are we aiming for? That's their focus.
It's interesting how she pushes back on common ideas about PMs, like they're not just idea people or the voice of the customer rep or a mini CEO.
Right, she debunks those myths. And to make it clearer, she describes some archetypes of, well, bad product managers.
Uh-oh. Like who?
There's the mini CEO. She uses an example Nick at a fictional company called Marquetley. This type dictates solutions without real team collaboration or understanding.
Right. Top down, my way or the highway.
Pretty much. Then there's the waiter, which she saw a lot at Marquetley, apparently.
The waiter, what do?
They just take orders from sales, from execs, from customers,
Hmm.
without strategic filtering or prioritizing based on actual goals.
Reactive, just collecting requests.
Exactly. And that, as her friend David Bland calls it, often leads to the product death cycle. Building feature after feature that nobody really wants or needs.
Because you never stop to validate the underlying need. Makes sense. Any other bad archetypes?
She also mentions the project manager turned product manager owner. Someone who might be great at managing schedules and deliverables, the when.
But maybe misses the strategic why.
Precisely. They might lack that crucial strategic mindset needed to ask why this work matters.
So flipping that, what does a great product manager look like according to Perry?
A great PM skillfully balances business needs with solving real user problems.
Okay, that balance seems key.
It requires a unique mix: market understanding, business acumen, making sure things align with the company vision, and crucially, deep user empathy.
She has an example for this too, right? Megan at the bank?
Yes, a fantastic example. Megan wasn't just handed a feature spec. She was focused on a clear business goal: improve the completion rate for first-time mortgage applications.
Which had a huge drop-off rate, like 60%.
Exactly. A massive problem. And notice her approach. She didn't jump to solutions.
She started with the why.
Right. Dug into why people were abandoning. She looked at data, sure, but crucially, she and her team developers, a designer, talked directly to customers who dropped off.
What did they find?
The big pain point was having to physically go into an office to verify documents. It was inconvenient, time-consuming, a major hurdle.
So direct customer insight, not just assumptions.
Absolutely key. From that understanding, they brainstormed solutions and then, importantly, ran experiments.
What kind of experiments?
One key one was offering a small group a manual online way to submit and verify documents. No big system build, just testing the concept.
And the results?
Dramatic, a 90% increase in completed applications compared to the old way.
Wow. So that experiment proved the hypothesis.
Exactly. And it wasn't just a one-off fix. It gave them solid data to build a vision for a fully online process later.
And Megan's focus was always that why. Questioning assumptions, not just taking feature orders.
That's the essence of it. Perry says effective PMs own the problem. They involve the whole team in finding and validating solutions. They don't just execute requests.
Perry also talks about where the PM fits in the org structure.
Yeah, typically feeding insights up to product leaders, maybe reporting to a director or VP of product.
And she has a point about titles wanting everyone called product manager instead of sometimes product owner.
She does. Her argument is for consistency, and ensuring the role always implies strategic thinking, not just backlog management, which product owner sometimes gets reduced to in certain contexts.
Makes sense for career paths, too. And then there's the CPO, the Chief Product Officer.
Right, the senior leader. Their focus is on the economic success of the whole product portfolio, ensuring strategic alignment, making sure the products work together.
And translating product impact into financial terms for the board.
Exactly. Connecting the product strategy directly to the business's bottom line.
Okay, so you've got the right people, the right mindset. What's next? How you organize the teams.
That's the next critical piece, yes. Perry stresses organizing teams around the work that needs doing, not just, arbitrary lines.
What are the common ways companies do it? And what are the pitfalls?
She outlines three main ways. First, organize them by technical components. Mark Gilley started this way: Scrum teams for each API.
Seems logical on the surface. Clear ownership.
It can seem that way, but the risk is the product owner for, say, the login API just focuses on keeping that API's backlog full.
Without connecting it to the bigger company goals.
Exactly. And teams can end up owning these components forever, even if they're not driving the most important strategic outcomes anymore.
Okay, so component teams can lead to silos. What's another way?
Organizing by features. This can be okay when you're starting something new.
But the downside?
It can unintentionally push teams back towards that output mindset. They focus on shipping more related to their feature slice.
Maybe missing opportunities or needs outside their narrow feature area? And reinforcing the build trap again?
Precisely, like Mark Kelly's initial setup.
So what's the third way? The one Perry recommends.
Organizing around value streams.
Value streams, like customer journeys or business outcomes.
Exactly. Think of TransferWise. They have teams focused on acquisition, retention, adding new currencies. These teams work across all the products needed to achieve that outcome.
Ah, I see. So the team owns the goal, not just a component or feature.
Right. And Perry argues this naturally leads to goal ownership, judging success by outcomes, and it even builds in some useful redundancy.
She also clarifies what a product is in this context, right? Not just the app.
Good point. A product is that broader vehicle for value. An app, like your car insurance app, might just be part of the larger car insurance product's value stream.
It's a component of the value delivery.
Exactly. She uses Pandora's early days as an example, too.
How so?
Scaling to millions of users with a surprisingly small engineering team. Why? Because they had to be absolutely ruthless about prioritizing only the work that directly hit their key goals. Small team size, forced focus.
So the bottom line for team structure is?
Product managers need the scope and alignment to manage toward outcome-oriented goals. Their work needs to map directly to what's most important for the business.
Okay, people, roles, teams. Now, strategy. Perry has a specific take on strategy, doesn't she? It's not just a plan.
That's a key distinction. It's not a static plan gathering dust. It's a framework for making decisions.
A decision-making framework. How does that work?
It connects the dots, links the company's big vision and economic goals down to the product portfolio, the specific initiatives, even the options teams are exploring.
And it's created and used at all levels, not just top-down.
Right. Strategy is created and deployed throughout the organization. It's a continuous loop.
She uses Netflix in 2005 as an example.
A great one. Their vision was super clear: provide movies and TV shows in the most convenient and easy way for customers.
Customer-centric from the start.
Totally. And that vision drove their strategy. Get big on DVDs first, then lead the shift to streaming, then expand globally.
And this helped them make tough calls.
Big time.
Yeah.
Like killing Project Griffin, their own streaming hardware project, which later became Roku.
Why kill it if it was nearly done?
Because making hardware didn't fit their core vision of convenient delivery on any device. Their strategic framework gave them the clarity to say no, even to something they had invested in.
So the strategy prevents you from getting lost in the weeds, keeps focus on the big picture outcomes, avoids the build trap.
Exactly. A good strategy should last for years, guiding you through multiple future iterations. It shouldn't be shifting every month without strong data backing it up.
Perry also talks about strategic gaps causing friction. What are those?
Yeah, based on Stephen Bungay's work, there's the knowledge gap. What leaders think is happening versus reality.
Okay.
The alignment gap.
Yeah.
The plan versus the actual context of the people doing the work
I can see that happening easily.
and the effects cap. The difference between the actions you take and the results you actually get.
So bridging these gaps is vital.
Perri argues upper management needs to focus on communicating strategic intent, the business goals, not demanding tons of detail on products that haven't even been validated yet.
More trust and autonomy.
Essential for scaling. Trying to manage everything through authority just doesn't work efficiently as you grow.
To contrast this with Mark Ketley's initial state again. Reactive, project-based.
Right. No real strategic thinking, just responding to customer requests. The opposite of being strategic.
So the strategic framework she proposes is meant to prevent that kind of swirl and chaos.
Yes, aligning the vision and strategy with the actual product development work. It brings coherence.
And involves goals at different levels.
Company level vision, aspirational, strategic intents, how to reach the vision from now, product initiatives, how products help achieve intents, and option goals, the outcomes needed to make progress on initiatives.
It sounds hierarchical, but you said it's not purely top-down.
Correct. The whole organization informs strategy through learning. Information flows up as well as down. Think information physics, as Bloom calls it.
Okay, let's break down those levels. Company vision.
That's the linchpin. Gives direction, meaning, like Amazon's customer obsession.
And strategic intents.
These are tied to the current business state. Focus on a few key things for a major leap forward.
Not just a laundry list of features like Mark Ketley did at first.
Exactly. Perri mentions Joshua Arnold's framework for thinking about business value here. Mark Ketley eventually focused on, say, expanding enterprise and doubling individual user revenue. Those were their strategic intents.
And you need the right number, not too many.
Yeah, maybe one for a small company, maybe 3 for a large one. Keep it focused.
Then product vision and portfolio.
Right. Product initiatives translate the business goals into problems for products to solve. The how.
Like Netflix needing to stream on any device to support their lead streaming intent.
Perfect example. And the CPO oversees this portfolio level, making sure products work together, defining their unique value, deciding what to stop doing.
That stop doing part feels really important, but often overlooked.
Crucial for avoiding complexity and staying focused.
Okay, strategy is set. Now, the actual process of product management. Perri introduces the product kata.
Yes, it's a framework borrowed from lean thinking, adapted for product. It really helps instill that experimental mindset.
How does it work?
It guides teams to focus on the problem, understand the current state, define a target condition, the outcome, and then iterate, experiment, and learn their way towards that outcome.
You mentioned Mark Ketley using this for their declining user revenue problem.
Right. They use the kata structure, goal, address declining revenue, current state. Analyze their funnel, saw low conversion, new teachers struggled with course creation, target condition, set specific goals for initiatives like improving onboarding or increasing course variety.
And the process involved exploring options like acquisition, retention, revenue per user.
Exactly. They broke down the big problem. Data analysis showed acquisition was weak despite marketing spend, and teacher surveys confirmed they found creating courses hard.
Which led to those product initiatives. Improve onboarding, increase course variety, enable teachers better.
Yes, and then those initiatives got specific option goals, like increase paid conversions by X% or increase published courses by Y%.
So the process itself helps uncover what to build, and you tailor it based on how uncertain things are.
Precisely. You don't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Don't over-engineer solutions for non-core things, like a basic checkout page maybe. Focus effort where the uncertainty and value are highest.
Perri also stresses that all design and development needs a goal, right? And killing bad ideas is key.
Absolutely. It prevents scope creep and complexity. You need to be willing to say no or stop based on evidence, and quantify initiatives where you can use existing data like Mark Ketley did with retention rates and survey data.
Let's follow Krista's team at Mark Ketley. They were focused on getting more courses published.
Yes, they dug into the problem exploration phase for that specific initiative. This is where metrics become critical.
Product metrics, the lifeblood, she calls them.
But she warns against vanity metrics. Page views, user counts, without context, they don't tell you much.
Or just tracking outputs like features shipped or story points completed.
Right, those don't measure value delivered. She suggests frameworks like Pirate Metrics ARR.
Acquisition, activation, retention, referral, revenue.
Or Heart Metrics, happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, task success. These help define meaningful goals.
And she clarifies activation isn't just signing up, it's that first valuable step.
Yes, experiencing the core value proposition for the first time. That's activation.
And you need a system of metrics, not just one, to avoid gaming the system.
Critical point. Focusing on just one metric can lead to optimizing it at the expense of something else important. You need balance. And you can't set success metrics without first exploring the problem deeply.
So back to Krista's team and problem exploration using the product data.
They looked at the goal, more published courses, the current situation, teachers struggling, the desired state, Y% increase, and the obstacles.
And this involved talking to teachers, the voice of the customer.
Absolutely essential. Data analysis alone wasn't enough. You need the qualitative why behind the numbers.
Perri really emphasizes killing bad ideas early, falling in love with the problem, not the solution.
Yes, Josh Wetzler's quote. She shares that story about the business mentor dating app.
Right. They rushed to build without validating if women even wanted that.
A classic mistake. So Krista's team did a small build-to-learn experiment first.
What was it?
Just letting teachers submit content in any format. Super simple.
And what did they learn?
The huge insight. The bottleneck wasn't just getting content in. It was teachers struggling to create decent video content in the first place.
Ah, a deeper problem surfaced. And that distinction, build to learn versus build to earn.
Crucial. Learn is for experiments, reducing uncertainty. Earn is for stable, scalable features.
She also reframes MVP, minimum viable product. It's not just a stripped-down feature.
No, it's the minimum amount of effort to learn the most critical thing. The focus is learning, not just building faster.
Then comes solution exploration with different experiment types.
Right, concierge experiments doing it manually first.
Yeah.
Like that SEO forecasting tool built in Excel initially. Wizard of Oz faking the back end. Like that e-commerce subscription test using manual processing, which revealed customers actually wanted more control, not automation.
Interesting. And concept testing.
Pitching the idea to gauge interest. Dropbox's famous demo video is a classic example.
But you don't always need complex experiments.
No. If it's an obvious problem with a clear fix, like a missing button, just fix it. Don't overcomplicate. But for uncertain, high-stakes stuff, like space shuttle panels.
You need that rigorous hypothesize, test, iterate approach.
Exactly. Or the Givision example testing software on a phone app before committing to expensive smart glasses hardware.
So learning reduces risk. Faster feedback is the goal of solution exploration.
You got it. Perri even mentions applying these ideas internally to solve colleagues' problems. It's a universal approach.
So Krista's team, having identified the video creation problem, ran another experiment.
Yes, they gave a subset of teachers access to video editing software.
And used the product kata, data problem, current state, target, result, learning to build a business case.
Absolutely. They presented the data showing the impact.
And the CEO's reaction was positive.
Apparently quite strong. That is insane, he said, seeing the data, which led to Karen, a leader there, proposing they actually acquire the software company.
Wow. From a small experiment to an acquisition strategy.
Shows the power of starting small, learning, and following the data. The product vision evolves through this. Tools like story mapping help keep the team aligned as it shifts.
Then Perri brings in cost of delay for prioritization.
Yeah, Don Reinertson's concept, potentially the one thing to quantify. It combines urgency and value.
How does it help?
It forces trade-offs. Is it better to ship something smaller sooner or wait for the bigger thing? Krista's team used it to decide to ship audio-image splicing first, delaying complex video splicing.
And there's a qualitative way too, urgency versus value matrix.
From Özlem Yus and Joshua Arnold, yes. A practical way to assess it without complex calculations sometimes.
Finally, definition of done. It's not just code shipped.
Definitely not. A feature is only truly done when it achieves its goals, hits the outcome metrics.
Jeff Gothal's quote, "Version 2 is the biggest lie," meaning don't just ship and forget.
Exactly. It's build, measure, learn, iterate. The process is ongoing.
Okay, so having covered roles, teams, strategy, process, it all needs the right environment to work.
The product-led organization in practice. This is critical.
And the Kodak story is the cautionary tale here.
The classic example. They saw digital coming. They even saw phones integrating cameras. But organizational inertia stopped them from adapting.
So good practices aren't enough without organizational support, mindset, and practice.
Precisely. Perri tracks Marquette's journey again, from being stuck in the build trap
to becoming more customer-centric, outcome-focused. But it wasn't easy. There was resistance.
Oh yeah, change is hard. But as results started showing, the mindset shifted gradually.
And leadership buy-in was key. The CEO, Chris.
Absolutely vital. He had to be willing to change his own thinking, trust his product leaders. It takes everyone, from the C-suite down.
So what does this look like in practice? Outcome-focused communication.
Regular meetings to review progress against goals. Weekly syncs, monthly release reviews.
And being honest in those reviews about what's really shipping, not just experiments.
Yes, transparency about what's going to GA or maybe late beta, and using standardized roadmaps everyone understands marketing, sales,
Yes. That can be a source of tension, especially with sales. Fixed dates on Gantt charts.
Often, yes. That leads to overpromising. Perry suggests a phased roadmap. Experiment, alpha, beta, GA. It manages expectations better.
So product enables sales strategy, but clear agreements are needed on what can be sold when.
Crucial for alignment and trust between those teams.
She also introduces product operations. What's that?
A function to help scale product efforts. They handle streamlining processes, tracking analytics, reporting, freeing up product leaders for strategy.
Like Markelli eventually implemented. Makes sense as you grow.
Definitely.
What about rewards and incentives? How can they go wrong?
Big danger. Tying bonuses only to shipping software.
Why is that bad?
It discourages the crucial upfront work research, problem solving. People just focus on getting code out the door.
So PMs need to push back, define success by outcomes.
Yes. And misaligned incentives affect other teams too, like sales overpromising to hit commission targets.
And safety and learning, creating a culture where it's okay to fail.
Paramount for innovation. If people are afraid to experiment and be wrong sometimes, you'll never discover breakthroughs.
Netflix's Quickster fumble is an example. They learned, they moved on.
Right. Experimentation is risk management, paradoxically. You learn faster, cheaper. Perry shares an anecdote of saving money and boosting sales through marketing experiments.
So PMs need to build trust by showing the value of experimentation.
That's how you get buy-in for this way of working.
And the overarching theme, the customer-centric organization.
Putting yourself in the customer's shoes. Understanding what makes them happy and moves the business forward. That's the core of being product-led.
Like John Deere sending engineers out to watch farmers work?
A great tangible example. It's about deep empathy and understanding the context.
So escaping the build trap isn't just process change, it's organizational change.
A fundamental shift. And for Marketley, it paid off. They hit their strategic goals and were eventually acquired because they made that shift.
And the afterword has takeaways for different roles. Humility for new PMs, strategy for seniors, org dynamics for consultants.
Exactly. Tailored advice based on where you sit.
So as you've absorbed all of these insights, maybe let's leave our listeners with a crucial question to ponder. How truly product-led is your own organization, or perhaps a company you greatly admire? Melissa Perri offers 6 insightful questions to help you evaluate this.
Yeah, questions like, can the teams across the organization clearly articulate why they are building the specific things they are building? That's a big one.
Definitely telling. And another really revealing one she asks is, what was the last product or significant feature that the company made the deliberate decision to stop working on or even kill?
Ooh, that cuts deep sometimes. Shows if they're truly disciplined about focus.
These thought-provoking questions, and honestly the wealth of practical insights we've only really scratched the surface of today, are all explored much deeper in Escaping the Build Trap.
We absolutely recommend picking up the book if this discussion resonated. It's packed with actionable tools and frameworks.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We sincerely hope this overview has given you some valuable things to think about, how that focus on value creation can really change the game for product and for business.